In today's video, I will show you some bizarre objects discovered by archaeologists, finds so astonishing that they will leave you completely dumbfounded. Every country on Earth is home to teams of archaeologists whose primary mission is to investigate mysterious events that occurred in antiquity. Through these investigations, they sometimes unearth mummies dating back thousands of years. At other times, they discover human skulls that people of the ancient world once utilized as cups or bowls. Friends, would you ever believe that an archaeological team in Peru once discovered a mummy that had been bound with iron chains during the mummification process? But perhaps the most shocking revelation of all is that the individual was mummified and buried while still alive. Today's video explores precisely these kinds of ruthless and thrilling discoveries from the ancient past. Number 7. The cursed body. Our world is home to countless mysterious places, and Egypt stands out as one of the most prominent among them. Beneath the soil of Egypt lie hidden a multitude of mysteries, secrets so profound that even if archaeologists from around the globe were to excavate for centuries, they would likely still be unable to unravel every single truth. Whenever the name Egypt comes to mind, the first image that invariably appears before our eyes is that of a mummy, a body wrapped in special linens and placed inside a coffin. However, in the Alexandria region of Egypt, a coffin was discovered that was unlike any other found before. The black coffin you see here was stumbled upon by archaeologists quite unexpectedly during an excavation. According to researchers, this coffin dates back approximately 2,000 years and was crafted entirely from stone. When this stone coffin was finally opened, the entire team of archaeologists present was left utterly stunned. The interior of the coffin was filled with a mysterious red liquid. Buried inside were 3 bodies, 2 males and 1 female. The most astonishing fact is that, even after 2,000 years, this liquid had not dried up. This particular coffin proved to be the most enigmatic discovery ever made in Egypt, for shortly after the 2 individuals responsible for lifting the coffin out of the ground completed their task, they both died under mysterious circumstances. Furthermore, those who had merely assisted in loading the coffin also fell ill. It is possible that the liquid inside, having remained stagnant for 2,000 years, transformed into a toxic substance, causing those exposed to it to fall ill. However, the red liquid recovered from within this coffin remains an unsolved mystery to this day, one for which scientists have yet to provide an explanation. Number 6. Mysterious grave. In 2018, construction work was underway at Durham University in England. Specifically, a new library was being built on the site. While laborers were engaged in excavation work, they suddenly stumbled upon human remains beneath the soil. Upon digging further, they discovered a massive burial site deep underground. You would be astonished to learn that the skeletons of 1,700 people were recovered from this single grave. The archaeologists were left dumbfounded by this discovery. The pressing question now was, who had buried these 1,700 individuals in this grave? Subsequent research revealed that these 1,700 individuals were soldiers, an army that had suffered defeat during a battle in 1650. The enemy forces had killed them, dug a trench at this location, and buried them en masse. You might be shocked to hear that these soldiers were killed using axes and swords. Number 5. Skull bowl. When discussing the human body, the head is undoubtedly a vital component. But would you believe that people in ancient times actually used human heads as utilitarian objects? In 2020, a team of British archaeologists discovered a human skull during an excavation. Upon analyzing the skull, they determined that it had been utilized as a cup or bowl. This particular skull dates back approximately 4,000 years. In fact, ancient peoples would often kill their enemies and sever their heads from their bodies. They would then repurpose the skulls to serve as vessels for food. Furthermore, Demonstrating just how ruthless ancient humans could be, they would not only kill their enemies, but also craft weapons using their bones and skeletons. Recently, archaeologists excavating on the Isle of Thanet, Doverland, discovered tools fashioned from human bones. Just imagine how barbaric the people of that era truly were. Number 4. Peruvian mummy. While conducting excavations in Peru, archaeologists discovered a mummy. However, this mummy was unlike any other ordinary mummy they had encountered before. The mummy was discovered positioned in this exact posture. The individual has covered their face with their hands, while their entire body is bound tightly with ropes. The sight of this gruesome mummy would startle anyone. The archaeological team claims that this mummy is 1,200 years old. According to researchers, the individual was likely under the age of 35. However, the question now arises, why was he buried in such a bound state? According to some experts, this individual may have committed a grave crime during that era. Consequently, he was executed while bound hand and foot. Subsequently, he was mummified and buried in this very condition. Conversely, some researchers suggest that the individual was offered as a sacrifice in accordance with religious rituals. History abounds with such instances. In ancient times, people would offer human sacrifices, sometimes while the victims were still alive, to appease their stone deities. For certain religions of that era, this constituted a heinous religious practice. Recently, archaeologists discovered several such skeletons in the Mian region of China, remains in which the heads had been severed from the bodies prior to burial. According to the researchers, these findings indicate that in those days, human sacrifice was practiced as a religious custom. Consequently, upon examining this individual, archaeologists have speculated that he, too, may have been offered as a sacrifice to appease the gods. However, unlike the practices of certain other religions, this sacrifice appears to have been carried out not through decapitation, but by binding the victim's hands and feet in this manner. Friends, what are your thoughts on this matter? Was this individual a criminal, or was there some other reason behind his fate? Please let us know in the comments. Number 3. In 1970, a group of miners was working 70 meters underground in a Siberian mine. Suddenly, however, their attention was drawn to a marble coffin buried beneath the earth. Without wasting a moment, the miners began the process of unearthing the coffin. Since the coffin proved to be far heavier than they could have possibly imagined, it took a considerable amount of time to haul it to the surface. After much arduous effort, they finally succeeded in retrieving it. Now came the moment to open it. The miners were already apprehensive simply from the sight of the coffin itself. Yet, they had no idea that what lay inside was something that would leave them even more utterly astounded. As soon as they opened the coffin, they discovered the body of an extraordinarily beautiful woman lying within. She appeared as though she had passed away only a few hours earlier. However, the woman was not the only thing contained within this coffin. It also held a quantity of pink-colored liquid. The woman's body had been preserved within this very fluid. The miners proceeded to lift the woman's body out of the coffin. Yet, the instant her body was removed from the liquid, it began to disintegrate. When researchers learned of this bizarre coffin, it was immediately airlifted via helicopter to a scientific laboratory. Scientists commenced an investigation into this mysterious pink liquid, the substance that had preserved the woman's body in such a pristine state for thousands of years. Despite their most rigorous efforts, the scientists ultimately met with failure. According to their findings, the liquid was approximately 3,000 years old. Consequently, its original chemical composition had undergone irreversible alteration, rendering it impossible to replicate or reverse engineer. Nevertheless, one fact remains indisputable. The people of the era to which this body belonged possessed an intellect far superior to that of modern-day humans. Number 2. During repair work on a coastal highway in Chile's Atacama Desert, the construction crew encountered a specific anomaly that forced them to halt all operations on the road. As it happens, this particular project was being carried out directly across the terrain of the Atacama Desert in Chile. However, the workers here suddenly stumbled upon whale skeletons. They did not find just one or two. Rather, they discovered approximately 75 whale skeletons at this site. The workers were perplexed. How did 75 whale skeletons end up in a desert-like region situated at an elevation of 120 feet? After all, there is no trace of the ocean anywhere in the vicinity. So, how did these skeletons get here? To unravel this mystery, archaeologists launched an investigation. According to them, these skeletons date back approximately 2 to 3 million years. Researchers theorize that at that time, this location was actually a seashore. This is because whales, whenever they fall ill, tend to make their way to the shoreline. But how did 75 whales end up in the exact same spot and perish together? To this day, this remains an unsolved mystery. Number 1. Black Sam Bellamy. This story concerns the Robin Hood of the seas, a pirate. About 300 years ago, there lived a man in England named Black Sam. He served in the English Navy. At the time, he was a mere 22 years old. However, he harbored a burning desire to amass immense wealth. Consequently, he fled England and formed a small crew. They then set sail on an expedition across the Caribbean Sea. He proved to be an exceptionally skilled pirate, possessing an expert command of maritime navigation. Within a very short time, he established himself as a formidable pirate captain. He would plunder riches from the wealthy and distribute them among the poor. In this manner, he earned the title of the Robin Hood of the seas. However, while he did indeed provide financial aid to the poor, he also enlisted them into his service, effectively turning them into pirates themselves. It is reported that, over the course of his life, he plundered and sank 45 ships. Yet, sometime later, his own ship was lost in a violent storm at sea. The entire crew, every soul aboard, perished beneath the waves. Extensive search efforts were launched at the time to locate them, utilizing every available method. However, no trace of them was ever found. Then, in 1982, a team of divers unexpectedly stumbled upon the wreck of that very ship. Inside that ship, they discovered several skeletons floating in this manner. It was, indeed, a highly rare occurrence. Although many researchers attribute these skeletons to pirates, others dismiss this theory. However, the truth remains unknown. Friends, please let us know in the comments which of these incidents you found to be the most bizarre. That is all for today. For now, I bid you farewell. We shall meet again in the next episode.